Hey guys, how about some homemade vegetarian lasagna? So I used carrots, cucumbers, onions, and green peppers. I also used mushrooms and broccoli, but didn't get that in the picture. Saute those real good with seasonings of choice. This is vegetarian, plant-based ground meat. I used one bag for that. And then I have 9 lasagna noodles that I boiled al dente, drained, and put on wax paper. Here's my 9 by 13. It's a deep disposable pan, and then the marinara of your choice. I use just a simple Kroger marinara. It's great. So spray your pan really good. And then you're going to laugh at this, actually. That's an old paintbrush that I shaved down to a wedge, and I use that as a basting brush. In this case, marinara. So you go ahead, put a little bit of marinara on there and get it evenly, distributed on the bottom of the pan there. You don't want to use too much, though, because you're laying noodles on top of that, and you don't want them to be soupy. But just put enough on there to cover the bottom. Spread it out, get it in the corners. And then I'm going to add my noodles. Now, this is where I messed up. You're supposed to overlap the noodles, and you can see right there. See, I did that. But I didn't cook enough noodles. I said I only cooked 9 for 3 layers. You're supposed to use 4 noodles per layer in a 9 by 13. But since I'm only the one eating this, it doesn't really matter. So there's 3. We'll just go with that. Then we're going to put more marinara on top. Spread that evenly. Don't go overboard with it, but, don't go cheap either. Just a fair amount. Then you're going to add ricotta cheese. And I start out with 2 scoops here and then end up using 3. And with the ricotta cheese, you want to add some grated parmesan, a little bit of salt, some garlic powder, as well as 2 eggs for a large tub of ricotta. Mix that really good. You'll give it a real nice taste. The eggs help it kind of stick together. But go ahead and spread that on top of the noodles and marinara. You can actually drop this in little tidbits, and the weight of the layers will just kind of help them spread out. But I like to do it this way just to make sure I'm getting, cheese in every bite. Then we're going to add our sauteed vegetables. They're not quite as pretty now that they're all fully cooked. There's their broccoli, there's carrots and cucumbers, there's mushrooms in there. That right there is spinach. So we're just going to sprinkle that on top of the ricotta cheese. Make sure you cover get it evenly in there so there's vegetables in every bite. Last but not least, we're going to use a layer of vegetarian meat crumbles. I season this with fennel seeds, salt, and pepper, and Italian seasoning to give it that real nice smoked kind of beef flavor. Cool thing about it is it's vegetable based, so all it is really is more vegetables. You wouldn't know, though. It tastes just like beef. If it's cooked right, you might even think it tastes better. Then we're going to use a layer of shredded mozzarella on top. Make sure you get the corners, get it evenly. You're paying attention. I know you probably think I'm not paying attention to that bottom right-hand corner, but I actually went back and got all that. Okay, now we're going to do 3 lines of marinara sauce, because your noodles are going to be placed on top of that. And remember, we want marinara on the tops and bottoms of the noodles so they don't go dry and they cook really good. Now, you're supposed to use 4 noodles per layer. Even though you're using 4 noodles per layer, you can still use just 3 lines of marinara on top of the shredded mozzarella. That's fine. Then as the noodles cook, the marinara spreads out and they all get coated. But, methodically, you can use a spoon, whatever's easier for you. Eventually, there I go, I start pouring it out. And then I just, try to make a line out of it. And that concludes our first layer. Here's the second batch of noodles on top of the marinara. Again, use 4 noodles and overlap the edges. So I'm really, really trying to make these noodles, take up the pan, and it's not working for me, but it's going to cook great. Everything will cook great. I'll just have to let it set longer so it don't fall apart when I cook it. But you want to overlap those noodles. So Nothing falls apart. You cut nice, pretty, squares out of this. We're going to do another layer of marinara to cover the tops of the noodles. And we're going to do some more ricotta. And if you didn't catch it the first time, I used 2 eggs, maybe a teaspoon of garlic powder and a half teaspoon of salt, and then maybe a half a cup of grated parmesan. And I had to take the ricotta out of the big tub that it came in and mix all that stuff together in a bowl. And that helps it stick together. It tastes really good, and you'll be glad you did it. Don't just throw ricotta straight from the tub. You definitely want to add the parmesan and the eggs. You can add salt if you want to. Definitely add a little garlic powder. Not everyone does that, but do it my way. Trust me, it'll taste better. We're doing another layer of vegetables, getting those spread out evenly. And then another layer of your vegetable-based meat crumbles. And you can do this any way you want to. You can use different vegetables. You don't even have to use vegetables. You could just do the meat. And you could use real meat. But anyway, we're going to do another layer of shredded mozzarella. And get that in there real good and even, and make sure you get the corners. Don't go overboard. Don't go cheap, but don't go overboard on the mozzarella, because you're going to be putting a lot on top of everything when it's all done. We're going to do our 3 lines of marinara on top of the mozzarella. Then we're going to layer noodles down again. The noodles were cooked al dente. They say cook them for 5 minutes. I cook mine for about 8 to 10, because I don't want my noodles drying out as they're baking. We're going to do another layer of marinara. Don't go crazy on the marinara, because it's going to taste too tomatoey and too soupy, and you don't want that. You cover everything in that. And then this, I believe, is our last layer of mozzarella. I use more than what you're going to see in the video. But yeah, get that spread out real good and in the corners. And then lastly, put some tin foil on top. And you want to seal the edges really good, but leave the top a little bit loose. That way your mozzarella doesn't melt and stick to the top of the tin foil as it's baking. Then I'm going to set the oven for 375. You could do it on 400 or 425, but I do it for 375. And I don't care if the oven preheats. I'm tired. I'm throwing it in. Bake it for about 30 minutes and then uncovered for about 10. All right, now, happy eating, y'all. Dig in.
Okay, here we go. Let's check on the lasagna. And there you have it. Couple areas of golden brown, because I uncovered it and broiled it for about 5-7 minutes. So its total baking time was about 35 minutes. Then I broiled it for about 7 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes, to give that, the cheese nice little golden spots or whatnot. But here it is up close. I don't think I can get any closer than that. And if you're seeing the little dots on top, that's actually Italian seasoning. I would typically use parsley, but I went with Italian seasoning. And I forgot to tell you too, when you bake it, you can see that right there is an old ass broiler pan. But who doesn't use an old broiler pan? You want to put the whole thing in that. This disposable thing here alone by itself, it ain't strong enough. So give it some support and put it in something durable, like my broiler pan. I also cleaned my stove off, so if you're seeing streaks, see, it registers in the video, but not in person. Kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, so there you have it. Good shit right there. Very thick. I would say probably this pan is probably a good 3 inches. It looks like somewhere between 3 or 4 inches thick. And then it's a 9 by 13, so we got several servings here. I might even bring the neighbor some. Good eatings. Eat by itself, serve with some garlic bread. Let me know if you make it and how it turns out.